It's my feel-good breakfast show.
Welcome back, everybody, to your Feel Good Breakfast Show. Happy Hump Day. Now, there is a lot of uncertainty in the world at the moment because of the coronavirus pandemic. And with that uncertainty has come a huge amount of anxiety for parents and for children as well. Now, this morning, family therapist and social worker Talya Ressel joined us in studio to share some advice on how to manage your child's anxiety during a crisis, and this crisis specifically. So, morning and welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Talya. And earlier on, we spoke to Nkosana, a little one who found inspiration in a time of crisis and started a business venture. But I guess that's not the norm. I guess it's understandable that a lot of young ones would have anxiety and stress associated with what is going on right now, especially with the looming 21-day lockdown.
Well, absolutely. There's so much change. And I think the biggest thing that's causing anxiety is the unknown, the uncertainty. I mean, I certainly feel it as an adult, where things are changing on a day-to-day, even moment-by-moment basis. So that for children who really find structure and predictability calming and containing, we've taken that away. We've said no school. We've said probably staying at home now. Now we know we are staying at home. They're hearing these messages of their day-to-day life interrupted, and we're seeing anxiety shoot through the roof.
What can we as parents do? Because I remember being that parent that said there will be no screen time, but right now we are already day 14 for some parents, where I'm just like, listen, Johnny, yes, Papa, because I don't know what to do. And so that is the anxiety that's put on parents. But what can we do to reduce the child's anxiety then in this space?
Okay. So definitely reduce your own anxiety. And if you can't reduce it, contain it. Don't let them see it, because it's more important that the children get a sense of calm from us as parents. So we need to portray to them, actually, even though things are changing and we don't quite know, I've got you, okay? And this is what I do know, and then, you know, if I don't know something, I'll say I don't know something. And as I find out more, you can disseminate that information. On your screen time, please, parents, take off the pressure. Do what works in this time.
Yeah.
If it means more screen time, pump the screen time, okay? Because there was no training there was no course on how to manage in a pandemic. And as parents, you know, most of the time we don't know what we're doing. And now, under this circumstances, we really don't know what we're doing. So if it means put on the screen for your kid, fine. But you actually will see that it'll be more containing for the child, just your presence with them.
Yeah, and I think it's fair to note that for most people, I think, across the world, nobody has ever experienced a pandemic before. I mean, they're likening this to the 1918's Spanish flu. None of us lived through that time, so it's fair to say, at this moment, we actually don't know, and we're figuring it out as we go along. You were speaking about the dissemination of information and your interaction with your child, and that closeness being very important. How do you handle your child's anxiety from an age appropriateness point of view?
Well, it would be very different what you share with a young child versus a teenager. So you've got to give them factual information that's appropriate, but also appropriate to their stage of development. So with a little one, you can explain it, you know, quite like I read about where we do it with a ball, to explain this social distancing thing, to explain why we're now told to keep apart. You know, you and I can sit and roll a ball, and closer we are, it's easier to catch it. And the further away we sit, the harder it is to catch the ball. So that's why we sit further away, or we're away from people. Okay. But obviously with an older child, you know, we're going to talk about, there's some great pictures out there just about how things spread. We can give them that info. But more importantly, I want to say to parents, and I find this so helpful to remember, like with a song where there's the lyrics and the tune. The lyrics in this, what we're saying to our kids, is not as important as the tune. Okay. If we're saying everything is okay, but we're highly stressed, they're going to pick up on that. Okay, so it's more about we have to check our anxiety as parents and hold that in. And I was just saying to you, you know, if I didn't have kids myself, I think I'd be running around like a headless chicken, you know, because with anxiety, this is what we were fearing was happening, that, you know, bad stuff's going to happen, we don't know, but we have to rein that in. And as a parent myself who is prone to anxiety, I really have to rein that in for them, because this is a once in a lifetime, please God, you know, this is a once unknown to all of us. And we've got that responsibility as parents to manage it for our kids and to filter that. So I have to take on more so that I can not let my child take on so much.
Yeah. Well, thank you very much for that, Talya. Some very, very insightful words there indeed. We'll carry on our conversation very shortly. And yes, indeed, think about the tune that you're singing, the lyrics that you're singing, but more so what that melody sounds like. Check yourself so that you can restore calm in the household in order to ensure that we make it through these 21 days.
It's my feel-good breakfast show.
Welcome back, you beautiful souls. Thank you so much for tuning in. We really, more now than ever, we appreciate you guys staying connected with us. So earlier in the show, we spoke about the increase in anxiety among children and adults. I suppose all of us, none of us are exempt as a result of the coronavirus pandemic and the impending 21-day lockdown, as well as how parents can help their children deal with this anxiety, maybe how we can do that collectively. And we're going to continue that conversation right now with our friend, family therapist and social worker, Talya Ressel. Talya, thank you so much. You always give us great cause for self-reflection and inspection during these times, which is, that's often what you've got to start with as a parent. Just check yourself. Just see what you are doing. Feeding off my last discussion, there was all these patterns, these things. You might not even be aware of it. Just take a step back and just be aware. But it helps if you can recognize the signs. So maybe let's start with our children. What are the alarm bell signs in our kids?
So if we're seeing a change in behavior, like suddenly their sleeping is disrupted, or their eating patterns, or being a bit more teary and needy, asking a lot of questions, running to the toilet a lot, those can be some of the general warning signs with younger kids, because they won't have the words to say, you know, I'm really worried. They will show it physically in their bodies. So that is something for parents to be on the lookout for.
Absolutely. I think it's so important that, and we're going to reiterate, if you panic, it passes on to your child.
Yes.
But now we spoke about, we can maybe increase a bit of TV time or screen time if you need to. But what is things that you should absolutely not be doing right now to increase this anxiety in the children?
Yeah. So we want to be aware what they're exposed to. We cannot pretend it's not happening, they know it, but having the news or the radio on 24/7 that is unfiltered is not helpful to the child. Even younger kids, because they pick up a word or two, even in our discussions, the adult conversations, they're listening to it. So we really have to be mindful as to what information they're getting. You want to be the one who's giving them appropriate information, not necessarily the news cycle that's repeating the same thing, or the infection rate and you know, scary things that they may not be able to make sense of with their childlike mind. Something I do want to add that parents need to know is that they won't necessarily have the same anxieties as us, you know, from an adult point of view. More from a child point of view, they're going to be more disappointed. Why is school cancelled? Or no holiday, why can't I see my friends and I don't understand this? Or, you know, making sense on their day-to-day level. So it's important to actually ask your child, A, what have you heard? Because you want to hear what information they've got, and what are you feeling at the moment, and about what? Because they might not even mention coronavirus, they may have heard it, but they're more disappointed that they're stuck at home with you now for 21 days. So we would need to express, you know, from a child's point of view. Think about these teenagers who do not want to be with their parents. Now they are stuck and confined there with them.
Yeah, Jack came to me to talk about granola virus, and we've spoken about granola virus. Any final tips? Because it's difficult when you yourself as a parent are yet to really wrap your head around the stress and anxiety. There are so many different, it's a complex situation. What would your final words of advice be for parents out there going into now 21 days tomorrow?
Take it one step at a time. I have to really do that for myself, because otherwise we can run off with the, you know, the unknown. Take it, even if you have to take it half day by half day, you know, just focus on that with you and your child, getting through that calmly. And also let your child and yourself focus on what you can do. This is how we keep ourselves safe. this is now we've got more time to read the story together, or, you know, cook a meal together. Focus on not what now we can't do or the fears, but focusing on this is how we protect ourselves and this is how we can use this time. But please, just take the pressure off yourselves. This is not the time to win parenting awards or to, you know, really push a new thing with your child. We have got to get through this and together, you know, as best we can.
Thanks for this little wake-up call. I think you've listed 5 things that I've already gotten wrong, but we will figure it out together as parents. Just, as Talya says, take the pressure off yourself. There's enough of that going around at the moment. And most importantly, value this wonderful time that you will now have with your beautiful children, and stay safe.